Welcome everyone to my very first YouTube video. Today is day number 9 of my Stanuary challenge. So basically we're doing 31 days of drawing all the inspirational characters that the late and great Stan Lee gave to us in his lifetime. So day number 9 is drawing the Hulk. I'm basically using Draw with Jazz's approach where I go and Google research the character, find some different poses online that I like, and then I hop into my sketchbook. From there, I'm just going to draw out a couple different poses and see which one I'm feeling for that day. Once I've landed on one that I like, I'll go ahead and do a bigger scale. And then from there, I'll come in with some micron pens and lay in a layer of ink. And the medium I'm going to use today for color is called watercolor pencils. Now, I'm by no means an expert in this medium. But what I do like is I'm learning a lot about color from using them, and it's just fun to do something different, and they're really not that expensive. It was actually a gift from a friend of mine, so it's been fun learning with these and getting some good quality color with them. So when I get to that part of the video, I'll talk about how I kind of layer it in, saturate it, and then wait till it dries and come in with the next layer. Okay guys, so tip number 1, let's talk about penciling real quick. Basically what I learned just from watching other artists is you want to keep your hand relaxed. You want your fingers a little bit higher up towards the middle of the pencil because this allows you to go in and have lighter strokes. You're basically layering in detail. So get the basic building blocks in and then go back in later and refine it before you move on to your inking process. And you will thank yourself when you go to erase these marks later. Something I will say about the inking process is that when you go in with your first layer of ink, go in with a smaller pen first, and don't try and make everything perfect with your first layer of ink. Just get the basic shapes and outlines. That's really important because later on when you go in with your second or even your third layer of ink, there's a lot of mistakes that you can cover up with just some different little techniques. So never try and go in and be perfect with that first run because it's not going to be, and this is going to save you a lot more time. So again, try and make the refinement happen on the second or the third layer of ink. Just let the first layer of ink be getting the basic blocks and shapes in there. Okay, so once you've finished with your inking, go in with an eraser. It can be regular or a kneadable eraser, and gently erase over top of your ink lines. This will make them fade a little bit. You can fix that when you get to the end of your drawing. But let's talk about these watercolor pencils. So basically, from my understanding, what binds these watercolor pencils together is water soluble, which basically means that once you lay it down like you would, you basically draw with it like you would a normal color pencil. You go back in with water, and once you apply that water to it, it breaks it down and it brings that pigment out. And that's why you see it looking kind of grainy and a lot like like a colored pencil illustration until I come in with that water and it really smooths the color out. At this point you can see me working with a darker watercolor pencil, so basically it's my mid-tone. I went light tone first, I'm now going to go in with a mid-tone and try and add that second layer of depth in there, and then you'll see me come back in with the water to smooth out those colors. The only downside to watercolor pencils is they can be a little bit tedious. So they can kind of double the workload. If you had just regular watercolors, you could add the amount of water that you wanted to the watercolor and place it directly from your brush onto the paper. Whereas with the watercolor pencils, you have to go in and actually color with the pencil first, then you have to go back in with water and go over it and then repeat the process with any follow-up colors. So it just kind of doubles up your work, but it is a good way to start learning if you're not confident like I was jumping into watercolor. To me, this is one of the most rewarding and scary parts of any illustration I do, and that's adding this big layer of black ink. Once you start to add it in, it really takes on that comic book look, because this is very iconic for Western comics. But it is a little bit scary because you're going over something that you've worked so long on, and you're just putting black over top of it. But if you do it correctly and you just go in layer by layer, it just pops. So awesome. Last but not least, I take one of my fine liners and I go around the entire outside to make the silhouette stand out and pop out. And I go in and fix some of the lines with black ink, and we are pretty much at the finish line. So this is my finished Hulk, guys, day number 9 of my Stanuary challenge. I wanted to thank you for sticking with me throughout this video. And if you guys like it, come back and join me next week and I'll post another video.